They love you. The audience does love you. And we got a lot of anxiety right now. We got social media anxiety. We got social justice anxiety. There's a lot going on. Talk to us about what reclaiming our peace in a hyper connected world can do for us.
So this topic is actually a continuation of a article that we did a year ago when it was
Mm,
the election cycle was going on, and we were discussing like how to manage everything that was going on with Kamala and Trump in the election. And I was like, yo, a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed with what's going on with this election, especially it's looking like old boy is going to win. But he
mm,
won. So we had that discussion, and everything that we thought was going to happen has happened, and even more. It's been
and even more.
absolutely nuts. It's
Yeah.
been completely bananas.
Yeah.
And so now a year into it, right? So, uh, it's been a full year, January 22nd. So I think its term started on the 20th of last year.
Yep. It's been a
And
year and a day. A year and
yeah,
2 days.
it's been absolutely bonkers. And,
Yeah.
the thing that I noticed, this is the weirdest thing, is how many times people are texting me or calling me or just in conversation saying, have you seen this? I'm going to
Mm,
send you this link. Check this thing out, right? And I'm like, yo, I don't want to see no more of this. I don't want to see it. I had to like reset my algorithm. I don't use Twitter no more. And like if
mm,
I see something, I'm avoiding it. I'm for real. Because what I found is that it puts me in a bad state of mind. It
yeah.
messes up my disposition. And I'm a
Yeah.
pleasant, well disposed brother. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm,
can't I can't be walking around all anxious and upset because I'm getting content and things that are irritating me, that are making me angry, that are unpleasant, that are basically messing up my vibe. And I
right.
know that I'm not the
Right.
only one going through this. We're inundated with this stuff, and we've got so much connectivity with our hands that it's just overwhelming for a lot of us.
Right. Right. And frankly, even those of us who try to avoid things, like you said, people be texting you. Did you see this? No, I hadn't, but now I have, and I'm stressed. Thank you. I was minding my own relaxed business before you came along.
Right? I was, I was chilling. Now I'm pissed off to the
Blood
highest
pressure
of
high.
festivity. And so we're discussing politics, but there's also other aspects of it. But we're going to stay with just the general things because there are things in social media, for different population segments. For example, there's body image things going on social
Yeah.
media. So certain demographics are being inundated
Yeah.
with, visuals and messages about, their self-esteem or what what they should look like.
Right.
There's finances, lifestyle things, right here. Aspire to be like this. Make this much money. There's the whole like relationship thing going on where it's like, men versus women and what's a high value man and like what's a woman a high value. There's all this stuff, and if you look at it, if you hop from one thing to the other or you look at your feed, a lot of it is unpleasant, but it taps into biochemical pathways in your brain. There are reasons why it's feeding you this stuff, and there are reasons why you watch it too, right?
Right.
Because you do get you do get rushes of adrenaline. You will
Yeah.
feel your heartbeat, right? You will get rushes of serotonin. So sometimes when you get, for example, if somebody sends me something that confirms a position point that I already had. So
Mm,
I feel like the current administration is completely bonkers. And then they send me something that says, hey, look how crazy these people are. For me, that's a reaffirmation of my position point already. So, yes, I agree with that. And I'm going to check this out. And as a matter of fact, it's going to make me even angrier. But I like the feeling of anger because it affirms that I was right. What I felt was right. So I'm
ooh.
going to, right? So I'm going to consume more of that. But that doesn't make my life any better at
Right.
all, right? So it just makes me angrier. It makes me a little bit more anxious, and it makes me so the dopamine pathway is the reward pathway. It makes me want to consume more of that.
Mm,
So now I get this jolt of like, yeah. Exactly. This is crazy. Look at this dude. He's out in Switzerland, showing his whole behind or wherever he was in Davos, right? We's out there bugging out, talking crazy. Yes, look at this crazy dude, and then I'll watch something else. And
Mm,
oftentimes it's hard to pull yourself out of that,
right.
right? To take yourself away from that. And it's hard to separate that from your day to day. So now you go into your existence carrying that emotional, psychological, and chemical uh,
Mm,
hangover with
right.
consuming that kind of content. And so it becomes really detrimental to us over time.
Talk to us a bit, if you can, about the connections between regulating our emotions and our body's endocannabinoid system. Because so many of us are looking to social media and these sorts of dopamine hit centers basically to fill I believe a lot of it is to fill emotional holes and gaps that we have within our own lives, and being able to relish and being justified and being right. It feels really, really good when you are not feeling like you're perhaps taken seriously in other spaces, when you don't feel like you get a way to assert yourself and be believed or looked to it in a certain way. And I think a lot of us get on social media and it's filling emotional voids for a lot of us who don't have as strong a handle on emotional regulation as we should. Is there a connection between our abilities to regulate our emotions and the endocannabinoid systems that we all have?
100% great segue. That's why you get paid the big bucks. You'll see
Well, I don't know
everybody
how
out
big
there
they are, but
listening. Did you see how she put that together? She sets it up. I knock them down. You see that right there? You're watching. You're listening to a master at
yeah,
work right here.
I do love this job. I do. Even this one ain't even a job. I love my lunch break, my brunch break.
Yeah. So 100%. For those who've been listening for a long period of time, we've discussed the endocannabinoid system. But for the newbies or those who are not well quite versed, who haven't been taking notes, I'm gonna tell you right now, this is going to be on the final exam. So make sure that you listen and take your notes down, right? Because I'm gonna drop some knowledge, some pearls on y'all. The endocannabinoid system is a system that our body has, which regulates the production and release of something called cannabinoids. Cannabinoids may sound similar to you because it sounds like cannabis, right? Root word. And so that means that we are producing the molecules that you find in cannabis plants. We actually produce them endo, meaning within, cannabinoids, meaning the subset
Mm,
of molecules, right? You can have phytocannabinoids. Phytocannabinoids come from plant sources. So it's like the THC and the CBD are phytocannabinoids, PHYTO.
okay.
Remember, this will be on the exam. Don't come to me at the end of the semester talking about Dr. Damas. When did we cover this, right?
Sounds like you've taught
Because
some things before.
yeah, right. So, um, the endocannabinoids that we predominantly know are anandamide, which is the bliss molecule, and 2-AG, 2-arachidonyl right? Oof, I
Yeah,
might have got that wrong. So that's not on the exam.
that's not on
But
the test.
2-AG, yeah, right? Just know it as 2-AG. And so those are prominent endocannabinoids. What they do is help regulate sleep. They will help regulate mood. They help regulate fight or flight responses. They help regulate within sleep your circadian rhythm. They help regulate your anxiety, your stress response. So they are involved in a lot of that. In the past, I've made examples of how you'll feel your endocannabinoid system. Exercise releases a lot of cannabinoids, so like that runner's high that you get
Yep.
is secondary to that endocannabinoid system. For those of you who are still engaged in extracurricular activities with your loved ones or random people, right, during your climax, or yes, however you get, or even yourself,
I was about to
right?
say, or technically one's own person.
Yourself, right? But there's actually a difference in the biochemical release from when you're with a partner and when you're by yourself. There's a
Oh,
difference in
wow.
the amount of oxytocin. There's a difference in how there is. That's why you get a little sleepier when you're with someone as opposed to when you're by yourself, right? We can
Right.
talk about that for Valentine's. All right. We can talk about all that
Save
stuff.
that
You know
for
what I'm saying?
for making sure the kids ain't in the car.
This is a teaser. This is a
For
teaser.
grown
All right.
folks only.
So the endocannabinoid system helps regulate a lot of that. That's why we always talk about when we talk about things about exercise and sleep and all these other things, kind of like try to reset your system, and then we supplement with our phytocannabinoids like CBD and THC. What you really want is your own body starting to regulate things. The bad thing is that the social media contributes to dysregulation
Oof.
because you're getting these
Ouch.
hits of dopamine, because you're getting this disruption in your sleep pattern, right? So
Right.
now you're up doom scrolling at night, your sleep pattern's off. Boom. So once that happens, your circadian rhythm is off. And so your endocannabinoid cycle and system is off as well. Everything is off. And so being able to get yourself recentered, right? And getting yourself back on a quote unquote normal or more functional sleeping habits, your functional activity habits will help start to balance your endocannabinoid system, get it back where it's supposed to be. And
Nice.
then the things that we're discussing, like the lack of sleep and the anxiety, the stress, the tension, that starts to decrease. And then you can start, or you can also supplement with your phytocannabinoids like your CBD and your THC, which will then decrease the amount of stress and anxiety that you feel without, these terrible side effects that you'll get from things like benzodiazepines or other
Right.
anxiolytic. Oh, did you check out the new swag we got today?
I'm seeing, I'm
Did you
seeing, I'm
see?
seeing. I
Yeah,
love it. Y'all gotta see
I'm
this shirt Dr. Damas has on. There's a picture of the cannabis plant and a sign, the sign that indicates greater than, and then on the other side of the greater than, at the lesser side, is a capsule. I like this. Talk to us about this because I believe in the messaging, but what was the
Yeah,
design
we
process for
got
you?
some new swag coming out, some new merch. I always like wear like, I've got like breast cancer cannabis thing, and it's kind of like a philosophy of how I live life. I always tell people,
Yeah.
man, somehow or another, we live for tens of thousands of years on this planet without using a whole bunch of pharmaceuticals. Now, all
Yep.
of a sudden, that's the first option and the main option, right? And so there are some other options for those of us who are like, yo, man, I don't want to live like, I don't want to always take pills. I don't want to always do that. And so it's going to be available on this website, so you guys can get some merch, and we're gonna have a whole bunch of other things that kind of like, hey, if your mindset is like you're more of the natural pathway, and and you want to live your life and have a little bit more control over what you're putting in your body and how you're taking care of yourself, then we're all about that. And you can wear our drippy. Now I sound like somebody's dad using terms I shouldn't be using. All right, Dad, take it easy. Did you just say drippy?
And the kids are like, you can't be using these phrases, guys.
You
You're
can't
too
put
old for this
everything in
shit.
whole right? Hello, kids.
Hello, fellow kids.
Kids, hello. Kids.
I love that meme. It's like whenever FBI or somebody try to go undercover, like we see you, you the man, you the feds.
Yeah,
Hello, fellow children.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
we know that we know that there are some things that people tend to do because they think it's helping to manage their social media anxiety. A lot of that includes things like you've mentioned the digital detox, where you like take a short break. But most
Mhm.
of us are not primed to where taking a short break for anything longer than a short period is going to work. And then as soon as we right
Mhm.
back to it, a lot of those habits pick up where we left them. I know that you've
Yeah.
talked about therapy and mindfulness, and then there's medications, but the reality is that, frankly, CBD doesn't just help support our social media anxiety. It helps support people who are navigating anxiety around a whole host of things. And I know that this to be true for my own self because I've actually incorporated CBD into my own mental health practices because Lord knows it's hard out here. It's a tough situation. Talk to us
It's
about the
crazy.
comparison between the CBD support mechanism and some of these other things that we can also use to support.
100%. Yeah, it's crazy out here. And I remember telling somebody last year, like, it ain't gonna get any better. Like if you think
Damn.
like the world is good, hey, I hate to be that dude. Like, yo, you're some negative Nancy over here, you know. But it ain't gonna get any better. And every time you think it's gonna get, somebody can't get any worse, it gets worse. One of the issues with social media for a lot of us has become our primary news source. Right. So we're not
Right.
reading newspapers. We're not really going to a lot of websites anymore. A lot of websites, news websites have paywalls behind their
Yep.
things.
Yep.
Um, and when we're not watching a lot of televised news. So we're getting a lot of our information from social media and we're getting it in small, little digestible tidbits. It's like junk food of information, right? You get a little video clip, you get a small amount and you can go and like you can really gorge yourself. It's like a buffet of junk, right? You can go
Yeah.
from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing and kind of gorge yourself on that. And at the end of it, you feel terrible. Just like if you ate, saying a whole buffet of junk food, you would feel
Yeah.
terrible. You can't sleep. And so the CBD, a couple of things that it does for you. Again, it takes off that residual anxiety. If you already have the anxiety, then you're watching like, hey, listen, my stocks are taking a tumbling because this dude said something silly. I'm watching what's going on with ICE. And you're of the mindset like, hey, it doesn't matter where people are from, people are human, and then there's a certain amount of treatment that you feel should be standardized. I'm one of those people. I don't care where you're from. A human being is a human being, right? So this idea of like someone's status or where they're from that makes them less than or lesser than and they get treatment. I'm not down for that. I will never ever be down with that whatsoever. And so you're watching some of these images and the stress itself is overwhelming. You can
Right.
find yourself high blood pressure. You can find yourself having panic attacks. You find yourself feeling like you're uncomfortable in your skin. So throughout the day, the CBD can help you manage that without, again, like using benzodiazepines like Xanax or Ativan and things that are gonna, affect your cognition and lead to, risk of addiction and side
Right.
effects you don't want. And then implementing the things that you just mentioned, like taking breaks. I told you earlier, I'm off of Twitter. That place was like, this was Twitter became like 42nd Street back in the day. It was like, do you do you want to see, see how nasty society can be?
You want to see what I have
Welcome.
underneath this trench coat? Hey, like, oh God, it was just a nasty, seedy, yucky place.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
There's
sorts of
like
terrible
tents
things could
over
happen to
there.
you on 42nd Street back in the day. It was
Yeah, it's
not a safe
outside the
space.
bus terminal, same peep shows. I was like, I had to get off of that. That thing was keeping me. I noticed it was like
Yeah,
when I'm on that
yeah,
platform, it's no bueno for me, right? So I had
yeah,
to disengage from that. Um, Engaging in other things. It's
yeah.
replaced so much about social interaction with one another, right? So you see a lot of people who are on their phones instead of interacting with the people next to them.
Yep.
Sometimes it's without interacting with their partner. Like they're sitting next to each other, but they're both on their phones, right?
I mean, yeah, have
Or
you got young kids, like, or a young kid and a old
yeah,
and an older kid? You've seen, I'm sure, kids at a party together on the phones talking to each other through. I'm like, you're right next to each other, like you're right
yeah,
there. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
yeah.
But
So,
one of the things that I do appreciate about the ability to incorporate CBD is that it leaves my mind clear. And that for me is very important. And I've said to you before, I feel like I'm a nicer parent. Like when my
okay,
endocannabinoid
yeah,
system is effectively managed. Like I feel like
yeah,
I'm a better wife when my endocannabinoid system is effectively managed. I'm a better daughter. I'm a better Lurie. And but I need clarity of thought. I cannot. I mean, now, ain't nothing wrong with a nice edible. Okay, I love them because
yeah.
there's time for edibles. There's time for edibles. But like during my day, I gotta think. I got justice to organize and thoughts to plan for, and I can't have my brain interrupted. Like I need to be focused. And I think I might have a little ADHD. I think I'm a little
Yeah.
undiagnosed. So I need to be able to
Nice,
focus.
I'm happy.
Just a pinch, just a pinch. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I love the fact that even though I know that you do have now more THC products, the fact that you prioritize CBD so that the physical, emotional parts of your body can have the sort of regulation that they need. I just think that's important. And it sucks when you thought you were going to take your your CBD, which does not impact your brain, at lunch, and then you realize you brought the edibles on accident. Don't ask me how I know.
Ah,
You're just like, God,
so that's a very
they just
important
gotta love on me.
distinction. For people who
Oh,
have
you only got
anxiety,
30 seconds to make the distinction, though, because the man gonna cut us off. We about done.
oh, that man, all the time. People, THC sometimes can exacerbate feelings of anxiety or stress
Right.
when, you go through a period. So that's why I really like CBD more because it doesn't affect your brain unless you chill out without. Sometimes you take the wrong gummy, you smoke the wrong thing, your mind goes off on a tangent, or you ain't
Yep.
gonna sleep or it'll increase it. So really like that. Now the
Read your
article's on the
labels.
website. As it always is, the article's on the website. So go to drdamas.com. You click on the knowledge, you'll be able to click on today's article. We have all the products that you want. There are links to the products on the website, the gummies, the capsules that our hostess with the mostest discussed. Put in her name, Lurie, to get your discount, get the hookup. And then always give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. 833-362-3262, 833-362-3262. And happy belated Founders Day to the
Ah,
sorors.
right. Give
You
you a
thought I forgot.
Of course
You thought
not. You know better than that. Cause you the bros. We appreciate the love. We appreciate the love. And I'm just shared the article with the Nubian family. It's also out on our social media. Oh, I need to make a correction that I just see in Nubia. I had said walkie-talkies, but I see a loving correction in the Nubia chat. It's not a walkie-talkie that we want. It's a short wave radio because walkie-talkies have limited range, whereas short wave radios, you can talk to people all over the country. Thank you for that correction. I haven't placed my order yet, but I'm working on that. Dr. Damas, we appreciate you, fam. God bless you. I want one of them shirts. Do you have a V-neck?
I hope you want. Huh? A V-neck?
Do you have a V-neck, a fitted T V-neck?
We want you to live it. I talked to Brian. He wants you to be a modest woman. We got the turtleneck.
You're funny. Meanwhile, he be the one like, baby, you ain't got that fitted tee. I be like, hold on, boo, I'll be right back. Let me go change. Okay. No, I'm actually planning to have like a fitted tee version in the next drop that I do because I love the larger size, but I'll talk to y'all about